Welcome back to another epic character history, and today we're going to be focusing on another Targaryen, one we've all heard about but barely know. This is Rhaegar Targaryen, so let's dive right into it and find out more about the Silver Prince, or as some people would like to call him, the last dragon of the Targaryen dynasty.
When your brother Rhaegar led his army into Battle of the Trident, men died for him because they believed in him.
So Rhaegar Targaryen was born out of incest between Aerys II and his sister Rhaella, and as a child he was more into reading than sword fighting. People even joked about that he was a nerd and all that, but one day he read something in one of his books that changed his life forever. Nobody really knows what it was, but after reading it, he went up to the Master at Arms in the Red Keep and said, "I will require a sword and armor. It seems I must be a warrior." And since that day, he trained and became known as one of the best sword fighters in the kingdom. Not one of the greatest, but well known to where he could take on several notable knights and come out victorious or in a draw. I don't want to say he's emo, but the way he acted when he was younger was kind of Edward Cullen-ish. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing the two that way. I'll give you an example. He did things like visit the ruins of Summerhall and would go with only his harp and would sing songs that were so beautiful they could reduce women to tears. So, he's basically a pretty boy with a self-righteous attitude, in my opinion at least. Others would say he was an accomplished person and would even make a great king someday. And he actually showed signs of being a cool guy to everybody around him. And everybody loved to be around him too. Rhaegar eventually went on to marry Elia of Dorne. However, the story behind that is pretty douchey but hilarious. Elia's mom and Joanna Lannister, Jaime and Cersei's mother, were such good friends, and Joanna arranged them to come to Casterly Rock after all suitable partners for Elia were initially rejected. Joanna thought that Elia or her brother Oberyn could marry one of her twins, and before they could arrive, Joanna died giving birth to Tyrion. When the Martells did arrive in Casterly Rock, Tywin was so dead set with the idea of Cersei marrying Rhaegar that he denied Oberyn her hand in marriage. When the Lady Martell asked for Jaime to marry Elia, he denied her again and offered Tyrion instead. Outraged at Tywin's offer, the Lady Martell arranged to Elia to marry Rhaegar instead, snubbing Tywin of his desire for a Lannister and Targaryen wedding. Their marriage, though not romantic, were a happy one. Unlike his father, the Mad King, Rhaegar treated his wife with respect and was very fond of her. But like some arranged marriages in Westeros, he was not truly in love with her. Elia would give birth to two children, Rhaenys and later Aegon. But unfortunately, she could no longer give birth after Aegon because her body was so weak and fragile after childbirth that the Maesters told Rhaegar that she would be unable to have any more children. This was because Elia had terrible health throughout their entire marriage. She was incredibly sickly even before giving birth to Rhaenys. So a lot of the times she would just remain in very poor shape, if you know what I mean.
That's Lyanna, my father's sister. King Robert was supposed to marry her, but Rhaegar Targaryen kidnapped her. Robert started a war to win her back. He killed Rhaegar, but she died anyway.
During the tournament at Harrenhal, Rhaegar met Lyanna Stark and fell madly in love with her. He jousted and won, crowning her the Queen of Love and Beauty, passing over his wife. Nobody knows what Elia felt when her husband passed her over as the Queen of Love and Beauty, but my guess is that she was jealous but also slightly happy that Rhaegar may have found someone he truly loved. This is all my opinion, but Elia knew him well enough to know that he was not satisfied with the arranged marriage, and he didn't love her as much as she might have loved him. In that turn, he didn't treat her badly, and he made sure she was well looked after, which is more than any woman in an arranged marriage in a medieval fantasy could pretty much ask for. Especially him being prince and he can do whatever he wants, he chose to give her a nice life and be a good father. So I'm going to guess that Elia was jealous that Lyanna had his affection, but was also content with being passed over for his attention, considering what a kind man he actually was. By the way, that's my complete guess, but I'm gonna go with that one. Sometime after the tournament, Rhaegar supposedly kidnapped Lyanna with the help of his two best friends, Arthur Dayne and Oswald Went, who were also Kingsguard members. Now this is my speculation since it isn't elaborated on, but Lyanna was kind of like Arya. I don't think Rhaegar could have kidnapped her without a fight, and without everybody knowing about it, because she could just yell and put up like a fucking fight and shit like that. So Lyanna knew the kind of person Robert was, and she was unhappy about the fact that she had to marry him. So when she fell in love with Rhaegar at first sight, she saw common ground with the prince who was equally unhappy in his marriage. Story goes on that after he kidnapped her, her brother got pissed off, went to King's Landing, and demanded that Rhaegar come out of the castle to fight him. Mad King Aerys got mad at that, thought it was insolent, or whatever the word is, and he jailed them, called his father to court to answer for his son's crime. You know the whole story. I don't have to tell you. Burned them. Robert got pissed off that Rhaegar had the nerve to kidnap his betrothed, started a rebellion to win her back.
I fought beside the last dragon on that day, Your Grace. I bled beside him.
Rhaegar fought valiantly, Rhaegar fought nobly, and Rhaegar died.
During the war, Lyanna and Rhaegar remained at the Tower of Joy in Dorne. Gerald Hightower was sent to find him when the war got out of hand, and it would appear that Robert's victories were beginning to become a major problem. Gerald found Rhaegar and on the prince's orders remained at the Tower of Joy with Arthur and Oswald to guard Lyanna. It's said that Rhaegar returned to the Red Keep to prepare for his final battle with Robert. There he said his final goodbyes to Elijah of Dorne, and before he set off, Jaime Lannister begged Rhaegar to go with him, but Rhaegar refused Jaime, stating that the King Aerys would rather Jaime stay close to keep Tywin at bay, since Aerys was afraid of Tywin more than Robert. Before Rhaegar departed, he put his hand on Jaime's shoulder and promised him that when he returned, there would be major changes made. You could say that Rhaegar could no longer turn a blind eye to his father's bullshit and planned to replace the Mad King, who had clearly been abusing his powers and burning people alive. Rhaegar took command of the Targaryen forces. He was joined by Barristan Selmy and several other Kingsguard members, leading thousands of troops against Robert's. The battle was fierce, and eventually during the fray, Robert and Rhaegar engaged in an epic fight in the river. This is, in my opinion, one of the most epic battles ever fought, and after a while Robert was able to kill Rhaegar with his warhammer, shattering the rubies on Rhaegar's armor and winning the Battle of the Trident, securing the rebel victory. Rhaegar's death was the final nail in the Mad King's coffin. Unfortunately, Rhaegar's children would not survive the Lannister sacking of King's Landing, when Armory Lorik and the Mountain killed his children and raped Elijah while she was still covered in her babe's blood. Jaime later kills the Mad King, Aerys, as he tries to set King's Landing on fire. The remaining Targaryens fled to Dragonstone, where Rhaegar's mother would give birth to Daenerys, and they would eventually be sailed off to Essos with one of the last remaining Targaryen loyalists. Rhaegar's legacy continues till this day, but all those close to him hold him in high regard. Half of the people who engaged against him never really thought he was the cause of the rebellion, since it was his father who ultimately killed the Starks and called for Ned's head. Before Rhaegar died, he would send Aemon Targaryen, who was the maester at Castle Black, letters about his newborn son Aegon, and how this could be the prince that was promised. Rhaegar was thought to be the prince that was promised, and so was his newborn Aegon. However, with both of them gone, the prophecy is left to interpretation, and Aemon Targaryen believes that there was an error in which, instead of the prince that was promised, it could have been the princess that was promised. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe for more Game of Thrones videos in the future. If you're interested in more Game of Thrones epic characters, check out my other character videos, and my new videos about my top 5 annoyances with the Game of Thrones series. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and have a good one.